Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you from the nation's capital in Abuja. I am Ayuba Ilya. As usual, I'm not alone in the studio. Good morning, Stella.
Good morning, Ayuba, and good morning, Nigerians. Thank you for joining us. My name is Stella Iyaji.
Our able and capable Stella.
Thank you.
Well, how are you coping with the issue of the fuel scarcity in the federal capital? I mean, we thought that the queues will go away as soon as the
floods started drying up.
Yeah, you know, in Lokoja. But then it looks like it has persisted for more than we expected.
You know, I was thinking, first of all, let me talk about how I'm coping. I have decided to park my car because from today, I'm not going to have fuel. And I do not think I want to go and queue up. I mean, I do not have the time. You know, before now, when they said it was because of the flood, I had my doubts that, okay, maybe it just wasn't the flood. But when I now saw that there's also fuel scarcity in Lagos, and you can see the reason they're giving in Lagos, they're saying that it's because the depots have increased their price from 148 to 178. You know, so there's more to it.
There's more to it,
it's not just the flood.
Than meet the eye. Otherwise, if it was just for the flood, then I think that would have gone back to normal by now. But that's not the case. But we'll soon find out more about this, whatever it is. But let's take a look at the headlines for today. The first headline today says, 2023 election, Nigerians must reject presidency by proxy, says Peter Obi. Nigerians
in diaspora to get up to 50 million loan for housing. This is coming from Leadcom.
I'm 43% Nigerian, says Meghan Markle.
Now let's take a look at the details. The Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Organization has asked Nigerians to reject those who are planning to rule the country by proxy, saying that Nigerians can no longer tolerate turning governance into family and friends business. The Labour Party campaign said the only thing that joins Peter Obi and Tinubu is that they were once governors of states in Nigeria. The campaign team in a statement in Abuja said, unlike Tinubu and his household, who have grown to be stupendously wealthy with no identifiable industry or means of making money outside the state government for over the decades, Obi is not like that. The Obi Dirty Media Office said Peter Obi is the man seeking the mandate of the Nigerian people to serve them as president, not any other member of his family.
Now, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission is set to launch a housing program that will enable Nigerians abroad to access a loan of up to 50 million naira to build their house in Nigeria. The Secretary General of the Commission, Dr. Yakubu Sule Basi, disclosed this to newsmen on the sideline of the 4th summit of the Standing Committee on Diaspora Matter and the State Diaspora Focal Point Officers in Abuja on Tuesday. He said the program, which will be launched in November during the Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit, will address the issue of fraud in the process of acquiring properties by Nigerians in the diaspora.
Now, Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, has revealed that her mixed-race heritage includes being 43% Nigerian. In a new episode of her Spotify exclusive podcast, Archetypes, she told the Nigerian-American actor Ziwe that she discovered her roots after having her genealogy done a couple of years ago. Asked if she knew which tribe her ancestors were from, the Duchess said she did not, but is planning to start to dig deeper into all of this. According to independent.co.uk, Ziwe said the news was huge for our community, adding, "She does look like a Nigerian. You look like my auntie Uzo, so this is great." Previously, Meghan had spoken about being biracial, but didn't delve deeper into her roots until more recently. And of course, as expected, there have been some social media reactions to this. We have one from Bomet Sega. I knew it. The way Meghan Makochuku, I think they've already given her an Igbo name, Makochuku cornered that prince away from his royal family, reeks of Igbo woman's doings.
Another one says, that's Krista Ledela, says, Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle discovers she is 43% Nigerian. No wonder. Queen no let her rest. I mean, Nigerians in their typical way, you know. I don't know, we always feel this excited whenever celebrities or international personalities,
Yes.
tend to trace their, what do you call it now? Origin to Nigeria, to Africa, and all of that. So
Sometimes
you see
I've
all
never
kinds of
seen
reactions.
instances where I've seen Nigerians argue and insist that a particular celebrity is from Nigeria, and I'm wondering, how much does it really impact?
Exactly. I guess it kind of makes them feel some kind of special African nature or of some sort, and all of that. But hey, she's 43%, not 100%. So
Yeah. Well, 43 is huge.
it's huge anyways. But I mean, people will always react. So I'm sure that we'll continue to see this buzz in the next few hours or days, who knows. All right, let's take a look at some of the packages that we have today. The National Population Commission is set to conduct a trial post enumeration survey in Daura local government area of Katsina State. This is preparatory to the first fully digital population and housing census in April 2023. In Katsina, Abdullahi Ahmadi reports that the post-enumeration survey is to be carried out to check the accuracy of the trial census conducted in July 2022. Here.
The post-enumeration survey will allow the Population Commission to understand and determine the number of people missed, counted twice, included by mistake, or counted in the wrong place. The trial post-enumeration survey is an integral part of the successful census in line with the United Nations principles and recommendations for population and housing census.
The Commission is placing premium importance on this exercise. As you know, a population census is the official enumeration of all persons in a country at a specific time. This encompasses the collection, compilation, evaluation, analysis, publication, and dissemination of demographic, social, and academic statistics relating to the population.
The Commission has constituted an independent team saddled with the responsibility of preparing and conducting post-enumeration survey. This is expected shortly after the conduct of the 2023 digital population and housing census in Nigeria.
The objectives of this trial post-enumeration survey are: 1. To measure coverage error due to either under-coverage or over-coverage of persons, in some cases households, units in trial census. 2. To determine content errors through measuring levels of agreement in responses to questions on selected characteristics such as sex, age, marital status, relationship to reference person or household. 3. To identify procedural and conceptual limitations in the census which needs the improvement in future censuses and large-scale surveys.
The trial post-enumeration survey will be carried out in November in the 127 enumeration areas in each one local government in one state of the 6 geopolitical zones. The NPC Federal Commissioner, Engineer Bala Almubanye, gives assurances that the Commission will conduct a credible census, the result of which can be used as a planning tool for national development. Abdullahi Ismail, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Now, Nigeria's government on Tuesday has criticized the United States and UK embassies for releasing separate secretary advisories regarding a possible terror attack in Abuja. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, at the ongoing Global Media and Information Literacy Week holding in Abuja, described the advisories as fake terror alerts. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman completes the report.
Speaking at the Ministerial Panel on National Media and Information Literacy Framework, Lai Mohammed, while citing sources and enablers of disinformation, described the action of the two embassies and the wide media coverage accorded to it as inimical to the peace, stability, and economy of the nation.
Suddenly, this same alert finds its way into the media, both new and traditional, thus creating panic in the polity. Yesterday's schools were shut, businesses were closed, Travel plans were altered. Lives were disrupted. No one cared to find out about the authenticity of these alerts.
Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Brahim Pantami, blamed the rising wave of disinformation globally on the unregulated new media, recommending self-regulation and societal reorientation to checkmate the spread.
Because of our societal orientation, most of our people, more than 90% today of our population, probably, whatever they see, if there is no any counter narrative, they will consume and agree with it. Even if you delay for 24 hours to counter, they will just take it like revelation.
Minister of Education Adamu, represented by the State Minister Goodluck Opia, told the audience that the ministry is considering introducing media literacy in schools to equip the younger generation with the necessary tools to detect disinformation.
That includes identifying the media component that should be taught in schools, in mainstreaming school curriculum, and then engaging the quality of teachers that can handle information and handle our young people in learning what kind of information they should be able to take.
The forum, moderated by the Deputy Director General, Information and Communication of UNESCO, Taufik Jalasi, featured virtual presentations from the United Kingdom, including a question and answer session. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, the preservation of craftworks is an important part of upholding a country's identity, origin and culture, as it serves as a mirror that reflects its cultural and historical richness, especially in Africa. It is against this backdrop that Nigeria and Morocco are harnessing handcraft for the economic benefit of both nations and also strengthening bilateral relations between them. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu has more.
It's the first of its kind as Nigeria and the Kingdom of Morocco showcase their rich culture through an exhibition of handcrafted traditional dresses, bags, shoes, interior decorations, jewelry, artistic carpentry, and kitchen utensil, among others. This is a collaboration between the Sokoto Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture and the Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Services of Morocco to promote culture and trade for the mutual benefit of the economies of both nations.
We benefit the country in terms of internally generated revenue because we are promoting art and crafts. That is the basic of this, so that creativity, people who are doing things with hand, we will borrow from technology from Morocco so that we can enhance. Most of the clothes you see here, 95% are handmade.
In furtherance of the existing relationship between the two countries, the Kingdom of Morocco's ambassador to Nigeria and the Commissioner for Commerce and Industry, Sokoto State, who spoke on behalf of Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, noted that the collaboration is timely as the rich cultural heritage of both regions is necessary for boosting internally generated revenues.
Nigeria and Morocco are also linked by centuries-old history, which means that the two countries share the same culture. This exhibition will allow the Nigerian public to discover the multiple forces of Moroccan crafts and culture.
Sokoto State in particular has been trading with Morocco via third parties. I listened to what the ambassador said, especially in leather goods. A lot of leather from Sokoto red goat, which is the best, as the experts say, in the world, finds its way through Kano to Morocco and to Europe. This kind of gathering should see how we can foster relationship that we can deal directly without the third parties, and also build on the existing mutually beneficial relationships.
This new collaboration, which comes after an earlier successful solar energy and fertilizer production agreement, seeks a closer working relationship between the Sokoto Caliphate and the Kingdom of Morocco in the areas of religion, education, and culture. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Thank you, Aisha Salihu, for that report. More than 3 billion worth of e-Naira has been minted since the Central Bank of Nigeria launched the digital currency a year ago. The platform has also recorded over 700,000 transactions, amounting to about 8 billion within the period. Delivering his keynote address at the e-Naira one-year anniversary held in Lagos, the governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, added that 33 banks have been fully integrated, over 3,305 merchants registered, and 919,000 customers onboarded.
In Nigeria. We're proud today to be saying that yes, we are celebrating 1 year of our digital currency in Nigeria because undoubtedly Nigeria remains the first country in Africa to introduce its digital currency, remains the second in the world, even when larger central banks are very skeptical about how many? Yeah? Okay. Even when other central banks, larger central banks in the world are very skeptical about introducing their digital currency because of what they conceive to be the risk, we took the bold decision to introduce our own digital currency. And we're happy that as we speak today, some of the fears that some had, even which we at the time of introducing our digital currency, which was predominantly centered around the risks of fraud and all that, we have not witnessed any. And I think we all give a round of applause. As we proceed this morning, I would make some statements, and I'm sure that it will be earth-shaking because Central Bank likes making earth-shaking statements. I'm delighted to be here today to celebrate yet another milestone in our journey geared towards transforming Nigeria to a digital economy, and most importantly, building the future monetary system of our country in response to the emerging trends and developments in the global digital space. Pursuant to the CBN's mandate of fostering a safe, credible, and robust payment system, the bank proactively developed the e-Naira, Africa's central bank digital currency, a year ago, precisely October 25, 2021, under the leadership of Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, given the potential benefits it portends for a digital economy. Explicitly, the e-Naira.
All right, we'll now take a short breather, and then when we return, it will be time to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak. Please stay with us.
This is not the first time it's happening. It has happened before, but this time around, like I said, the intensity and the volume of water that has come has done more damage than even the past.
No food, no clothing, and no shelter. Until tomorrow, every year, there is a budget line for Dasim Hausa Dam. Every year, because I've seen it and I know it. But till tomorrow, nothing has been done about it.
So the Nigerian factor certainly is one of the reasons why communities like this have to suffer.
ba wani rayuwar da za mu sake yi mu ji daɗi kuma.
That's great.
But in a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that. Where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
All right, thanks for staying. It's Daybreak and Trust Television. Now time for us to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak, beginning with the Daily Trust newspaper. The lead story this morning says President, VP, Senate President, Speaker, CJN, governors, others to enjoy pay hike. You have the writer that says as RMAFC reviews salaries of public political office holders. Labour kicks says its recipe for crisis. NGF welcomes proposed pay rise. It's economically irresponsible. That's according to experts. You'd find details of that on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Just above that, the lead story, it says FG dismisses U.S. security alert, says Nigeria now safer. That's on page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper. The next story there, sacked APC directors accuse Adamu of withdrawing 3 billion naira from secret accounts, and that's on page 30. Jonathan seeks legal provisions to protect deputy governors. That's on page 31. Beside the pictorial, you'd find Boko Haram kills scores of ISWAP fighters, loses 3 in reprisal battle. Fuel scarcity worsens in Lagos as filling stations shut down on page 23. Senate probes FG's 52 billion naira public works scheme on page 34. And at the footnote, you'll find Buhari blames climate change as flood kills 612, affects 3.2 million Nigerians on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Not forgetting that it's 496 days and we still have 11 schoolgirls of FGC Birnin Yawuri in captivity, and 1 student of Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama, is 469 days for the 1 student. So these are the stories on the front page of our newspaper today.
All right, now let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper. The Leadership leads with a story that says, federal government chides U.S. Embassy, UK over security alert, says its attempt to disrupt Nigeria's peace and stability. Service chiefs revive joint operations. Dismantle roadblocks, increase presence on highways, streets. UN alerts of plot to abduct humanitarian workers in Borno. We also have Oshibajo Jonathan Ganuje moved to strengthen Office of Deputy. CBN targets 100% cashless economy. We also have floods, 1.4 million displaced, 612 dead. 21 states get relief materials. And on politics, Autumn dumps Atiku as Tinubu tackles Obaseki over breakup comment. Just below the masthead, power disruption looms as federal government directs GENCOs to reduce generation. And just above the masthead, Senate to name Women's Center after Mariam Babangida. We also have the story here. Like in 2019, court nullifies all APC primaries in Rivers State. These are the major stories on the Leadership newspaper.
And on this day newspaper, the lead story talks about the security alert. It says FG terror alert. FG is saying terror alert on FCT by foreign embassies unverified and misleading. The writer says warning not for Nigerians. UK insists there's increased threat in Abuja. Warns assault may be indiscriminate, Western interest targeted. You'd also find at the very top there, Emefiele e-Naira recorded 8 billion Naira transactions in 1 year. Petrol scarcity hits Lagos, enters fourth week in Abuja. Just below the masthead, court nullifies APC primaries in Rivers. Party says ruling dead on arrival. Oshibajo, why hardworking deputies run into problems. These are the stories on the front page of this day newspaper.
Now let's take a look at the Tribune newspaper. It leads with court nullifies APC primaries in Rivers. And beneath that, marketers sell petrol at 195 Naira as queues return. We also have the story here, why we transferred 21 justices. This is coming from the appeal court. Lagos sets up inquest to unravel cause of IVD's wife's death. Still on the Tribune, Atiku visits flood victims in Bayelsa. Police arrest suspected kidnappers, armed robbers with goods worth 25 million Naira in Oyo State. And just below the masthead, I am 43% Nigerian, Meghan Markle reveals. Also, Sunak meets King Charles III, assumes office as UK Prime Minister. We also have the story here. Nigeria remains secure with us. APC replies Obaseki. These are the major stories on the Tribune newspaper.
All right, now if you take a look at the Nation newspaper, there the story, the lead story says, scarcity, petrol ex-depot price rises to 178 Naira per litre. You'd find the writers that says queues spread in Lagos filling stations. Are stock sufficient for 24.82 days, NMDPRA. We will sell fuel for 200 per litre in Southwest, says Ipman, and PCL depots empty. You'd also find Autumn, Benue elders withdraw support for Atiku. Kogi, Bayelsa, Imo governorship polls fixed for November 11, 2023. Flooding, climate change hurting Nigeria, says Buhari. EFCC to go after lawyers, bankers aiding financial crimes. And then you have at the very footnote, Oyetola leads supporters in 9.2-kilometer walk for Tinubu Shetima. These are the stories. OAH students dead. Oshun CJ fumes over Adedoyin's absence in court. These are the stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
And on to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper also leads with the petrol scarcity. It says, petrol nears 200 Naira per litre as ex-depot price, deaths, logistics escalate scarcity. Fuel queues will disappear in 48 hours, Mowan says. Ipman blames private depots for shortages. NMDPRA assures of robust supply. And then the third writer says, U.S. to worsen petrol scarcity with proposed export ban. And still on The Guardian, Tinubu Atiku absent as Obi others unveil agenda for women. And just beneath the masthead, how rogue ships become invisible in Nigerian waters. This is by NPA. Jonathan converses constitutional rules for deputy governors. Court nullifies APC primaries in Rivers. Appeal Court clarifies 21 justices transfer, says panel on Nnamdi Kanu not targeted. These are the major stories on The Guardian.
All right, so let's get perspectives on some of these stories. This morning we have in the studio Ben Shemang, the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak.
My pleasure. Stella is back. Last Wednesday you were not around.
I'm happy to be back.
Okay.
Yes, Stella went to
hope you didn't bring
recalibrate.
the fuel scarcity.
Well, you know, it has been on for over 2 weeks now.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about the fuel scarcity, it's becoming unbecoming, if you may. This is not what we thought. We thought that it's all because of the flood, but it's looking like the flood was only an opportunity for something else, because that's what we are seeing now. We are now seeing other reasons surface, the issue of, you know, increase in price at the depot and all that, and then spreading in other parts of the country and all of that. What's your take on this?
Honestly, I think the reasons are becoming too many and at the point simplistic, are too simple. At the point we were told schools were resuming, so there was scarcity of fuel. At the point we were told there were strikes here and there. At the point we were told because of force majeure, some circumstances beyond some people in charge of the oil industry, they cannot supply. At the point we were told, look, of the Ukrainian crisis. At the point we were told of the flood in Kogi State, Lokoja in particular. Now we are seeing a different thing. Private jetties have increased pump prices, I mean, cost of loading. Now, if therefore you're going to buy in a private jetty and this amount is that high, you also have to find out what happened to them. Where did they get it from? Maybe they also got it very high somewhere. And of course, they are in business, they have to fling it that high. Now, why private jetty? Why is it that it's obtainable in private jetties and not obtainable in government depot? And so we ought to, scrutinize quite a lot of these things so that these reasons will keep on shifting the goalposts. Should not be the thing that Nigerians are looking for. More so, we are moving towards elections. These are things that we should see the presidential candidates or political parties bringing to the front burner. This is what is happening. It's been a recurring decimal, and we want to stop this incessant scarcity of this fuel product. Therefore, this is going to be our approach.
But to be fair to the current administration, I mean, for the greater part of this administration, we haven't really experienced this much of fill queues in filling stations, and all of a sudden, towards the tail end of it, we are now seeing this happen. I mean, in the last 1 year, we've seen several fill scarcity, experienced by Nigerians and all of that. What are the likely, what are the motives in your observation for why we are having this now?
Well, you see, I used to have a director of news who ended up being the director general of Eversi and Ben Ebuna. He would tell us, you are judged by your last production, not the 1,000 ones you've done. The last one is what will be used to judge. In other words, if this one is just bad, it's what we are using you on. Good thing, they've been doing it nicely, but if at the tail end of the regime and we are seeing some things not in order, I think that they should rework the plan. What has gone wrong? Are there people who are sabotaging government? Are there moles within the system? that are kind of trying to paint the government black? Or is there ineptitude, or there are some people who indeed do not have the carrying capacity of some jobs given unto them? And so this is also part of what the National Assembly should scrutinize, because they ought to be doing oversight function, not joining Nigerian masses to be reading the Book of Lamentation. It used to be this, it used to be that.
You know, it's beginning to look like some sort of blackmail. Shortly before the last increase in pump price, there was this scarcity, so much so that by the time they increased the pump price and the product was available, Nigerians didn't complain, because they were like, okay, at least we can find it to buy. Now, we have experienced this scarcity in Abuja. Now it has come up in Lagos, and they're now telling us that to load it from the depots is now 178. One paper said it's close to 200. Is this another back door of another increment?
I mean, strategy, maybe a new strategy that is now devised for incremental.
Like, and that would be too soon, considering.
It's like testing the ground. After all, if you look at the budget 2022-23, at the point they're saying subsidy has to go. So if this is an indirect way of testing the ground, well, let us see what is happening. It's like flying a kite. But if truly subsidy should go, let it simply go, and let Nigerians buy according to the market forces. Let people sell according to market sources. Wherever you got it from, at what price, and you are making maybe a kind of little profit, and you feel that is okay for you.
For subsidy between now till June of next year, though?
Well, so there's nothing wrong in testing the grounds, because even what you call government public policy communication, there are times you fly a kite, you say a statement, you pass a statement to see people's reaction. So how are people reacting because of this?
But when
that can be a guide.
When you have a provision for subsidy and people are still buying the fuel at exorbitant prices, then what's the point of the subsidy? And where is the money going to?
This capitalism, and people do it, some people do it without conscience. You make the money, it does not matter who is being bled. It doesn't matter whose blood is being sucked. That's capitalism. But when government comes to say, we are here to give succor to the populace, so should it be. Therefore, in doing that, if there is anybody who is standing against government, provided that, I mean, such people should be brought to book. That's the truth of the matter. There are just no two ways. We cannot just wake up where some associations wake up and just hike prices today. Nothing goes down when it comes goes up in Nigeria.
Will you say just about the association? Because when they did the hike in about a couple of months ago, we didn't see the government trying to reverse it or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So it looked like there was an agreement.
Well, that's still the same thing as flying this same kite. But again, where are the lawmakers who indeed are supposed to be doing this oversight function? And that's why you have all sorts of, even those in barbering saloon, they just say, this is it. Vulcanizers, you just go with the tire, you need to just get just a little. They say, I pumped it 60. 60, who told you? Was there no air in the tire before? So they just increase prices. Nobody is checking all of this. There has to be a committee, or a commission, or a body that is supposed to be checking this incessant crisis, increase in a commodity, virtually of everything.
But I thought we do that. I mean, I thought we have that. We have those agencies.
You could have, but there are some people who are in the doldrums. You could have, there are some people who indeed do not know the job they are supposed to be doing. You could have, they could know, they could also fail to do. They could also want to do, they don't have the instrument to do all of these things. The whole gamut of
all right, so we should be aiming towards making the institution more efficient in dealing with this and in meeting its mandate. Well, let's look at other stories.
Let's look at this story on the Daily Trust newspaper. It says, Jonathan seeks legal provisions to protect deputy governors. And he spoke during the launch of the book by the current governor of Kano State, who himself was a deputy governor at some point.
And he also fought with the principal.
A lot of people have always wondered about the roles of deputy governors in states. A lot of people, I mean, most times they are referred to as spare tires. And they don't have any particular role in the constitution, as it were. So governors, it depends on how the relationship between them and their principal at that time.
Absolutely. I remember when the heat was so much between Atiku and Obasanjo, Atiku himself said, well, as a vice president, I am a spare hand back. You only pick me when you desire. Now, if it is so, it means they don't really have roles to play.
But I mean,
constitutionally,
but for deputy governors, unlike the vice president, I think that the vice president has more constitutional roles than the deputy governors, don't you think?
Yeah, they could have, but we need some of these things enshrined outside the constitution, saying that if the principal falls sick or resigns or is on leave, it's then the deputy or the vice president takes over. But there has to be some agencies that are constitutionally designed and allocated or enshrined to ensure that the vice president or the deputy governor is in charge of all those things. And if you check, you could find somebody so vibrant outside the government, but the moment he becomes a deputy, oh no, I don't have to outsmart, I don't have to outshine, I don't want to outdo my principal. And you could find that a best brain has just been kept in the cooler. And in the end of it, look at how many deputy governors get to succeed governors. How many vice presidents get to succeed presidents?
Before you
it's
even
been
get
before
you even get to the position of succession, we have had instances where because maybe a deputy governor defected or the governor defected and his deputy did not go with him, that deputy governor is sidelined from governance and all of that.
And impeached,
or even impeached.
Yes, and
it happened in Zamfara.
And this affects governance, don't you think?
Absolutely, because when you look at, in terms of governance, these are supposed to be leaders. In fact, leadership is like a school. There are some people, some mentees. There are some people who are mentoring. Look, by your actions, you are supposed to be mentoring some people. But if your actions are done in such a way that they are inimical to society, they are not in tandem with progress of society, they are not things people should copy, the young should copy, then it leaves so much to be desired. If you check adjectives some of these principles use, if you check expressions used by during campaigns, you'll be shocked.
I mean, we've had stories about how some principals have slapped their deputies and all that.
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
it also happened those days between Jerry John Rawlings in Ghana and his deputy.
There was also
he just called him as if to have a small meeting. He said, look, we are in the same party. I found out that we are always opposing. Started punching him and tore the suit. And when finally the vice president, got an opportunity and ran out, he went out with a torn suit as it was going to donate it to the archives, so that they remember a sitting president was beating his deputy, and this is the suit of the deputy. So must it reach that level?
All right.
It shouldn't.
So this also validates the call for protection for deputy governors, by the former President Jonathan.
Yes, constitutionally.
Now let's take a look at other stories. We have this lead story on Daily Trust that talks about, pay hike, the likelihood of a pay rise for public office holders and political office holders as well. What do you make of this? I mean, this is coming at a time like this, where you have states that are even yet to implement the 30,000 naira minimum wage, and you're talking about increase of pay for presidents, vice president, senate president, speaker, CJ, and governors, and others.
Well, if you are talking of those elected, senate president, the leadership there, if you are talking of the executive, president, vice president, deputy governor, and governor, I think they are making so much in terms of controlling the votes. But look at the judiciary. The greatest of the greatest of an arm that is neglected. When they say justice is being served, the president will rush to judiciary, governors will run to the judiciary. But what do they get in return in terms of their allowances, in terms of their salaries? Honestly, they are getting just peanuts. And a situation where you are sitting over a case of billions, I'm not talking of millions, billions, and your salary is 1 million. Your salary is 1 million. I mean, it leaves so much to be desired. It gives room for some people to go behind the scene, influence you, and if you think you are an incorruptible judge, as we have in that book by Olarotimi, look, some people will go and give money to your friends, to your in-laws, to your whoever you are connected with, so that they speak with you. You will not even know that those people have already received something. They'll pretend over it, and they'll be talking to you. So case, how do you handle it? So, and that. They influence you, so to speak. For the judiciary, they deserve this money. They do. When you get, I was reading, just a moment, I was reading that.
Not the general judiciary.
I mean, not just check the proposal there. You see that it goes down to even judges at the magistrate level.
How about the magistrate?
Well, if it goes to the head, of course, it has to permeate. That is it. That's the truth. Because a magistrate that will receive 150,000 naira and is presiding a case of how much, over a case of how much, an estate of how much, you begin to see that something is wrong somewhere. It's like a hungry boy is giving, palatable plate of food, not even covered, will this to go serve some other people.
But would this be morally justifiable if you look at the fact that the 30,000 naira minimum wage for some states is yet to be implemented?
The judiciary didn't block the executive from paying those people. Like, I am making this case mostly for the judiciary. Seriously. Now, if the executive failed to pay minimum wage, they should look at what is wrong. Look at the cost of governance. When a governor is going to somewhere, how much is spent on that? How much is being spent on hosting some communities who have come to say hello to His Excellency, Chief Doctor, the executive, all the adjectives.
So in other words, you're saying that this is a valid one for the judiciary, except for other public office
Because
holders.
the governors, if you say this is their salary, you check some of those allowances.
But the NLC is saying something. The NLC is saying that if you want to do something like that, that the general workers in Nigeria, they're also facing the same economic situation as these same people.
I agree. NLC should impress or stamp their feet very well to ensure that governors that have failed to implement minimum wage should implement that. Okay. And there are some states that didn't even need to be prompted. They are paying more than what you call federal government minimum wage. And so those governments is thumb up for them. Those who are yet to pay, look at primary schools. They are always the whipping babies, so to speak. They are down there. Okay. You see, teachers are not being paid. Why is it that? Teacher, and you go see. They are not checking the ghost workers, even in primary school setting.
Okay, so quickly before we look at the editorial of the Daily Trust, I want to hear what you make of the dismissal of the U.S. security alert yesterday, from what we heard from the Minister of Information. He's talking about how that it's not. It's fake. In fact, that's what he describes those alerts as fake.
Well, I don't know the honorable minister's sources. He must have been briefed by some people for him to have this opinion publicly this way. But from what I realized, these adversaries were simply they started from advising their embassy staff be careful, don't go to public places, be careful, marketplaces, where you have large gatherings, be careful, shops and all that stuff, just be careful. But you see, there's always this thing, some people deliberately, or they just feel, let me leak this thing to the press. And having leaked it, and oh, US has said this and that. But the good thing is, if you check Peter Afunaya, the spokesman for DSS, he said no cause for alarm. After all, we've been raising this alarm all the while, we internally back home. But all the same, it made, you could see that IG reacting, say, we are on top of the situation.
Yes.
You could see that checking going on here and there. It brought a kind of awareness on the side of the Nigerians, the Nigerian populace. If indeed the populace was asleep, it has woken up. I mean, it's like the adrenaline of everybody is now awake. Who is by my side? Who is in front of me? Who is behind me? I will not just dismiss it that way, but that it has simply revved the engine of security architecture. And that is the best thing, that's the best way I would describe it.
All right, now let's take a look at the Daily Trust editorial. Maybe we can have that on the screen. Yeah, the Daily Trust editorial is about the mental health bill. It says President signed the mental health bill, because this editorial is because of the fact that, as you know, last week was mental health. Mental health was marked sometime last week. And currently, the country operates a lunacy act, which was first passed in 1907 and reviewed in 1958. You know, the Lunacy Act does not take into consideration the current realities of things, because first of all, it even refers to it as lunacy, which in itself stigmatizes people that could be dealing with issues like that. So the editorial is calling on the president to sign this mental health bill so that people who have these conditions can actually have where to go to and get the proper treatment.
Yes. I had reasons to interview or interact with the president of Mental Health Association in Abuja, Dr. Olusegun Soyombo of the National Hospital. He said, look, this law, as old as it is, allows parents or relations to chain somebody they believe is mentally ill. This law, because of a colonial heritage, they said you can sell the victim's property to take care of him. And nobody is talking about any hospital anywhere. And that is why it is one of the laws that should be, look, the president should sign expressly without any raising of an eyebrow. If you go along the streets in many states, honestly, the kind of mentally deranged people you see. And this thing will usually start from small depression. Nobody is there to advise anyone. And again, look at the way we live, cosmopolitan nature. You are on the same street. Left, right, you don't know the names of children of your neighbors. They don't even play together. You see fences, with barbed wire all over. You are just left in. Whatever is happening, somebody is being maltreated, except otherwise that person is screaming, no one will know. So it is good a thing. But we are told that there are, medical facilities around almost every state to take care of mental cases. But they are not well equipped. The doctors are also very, very few. And of course, health providers in those areas, they are also very, very few. Added with some traditional beliefs. Once somebody is having some mental issue, oh, don't marry that area. Do you remember that mad person? He's from that. We should look out who indeed has been frustrated out of a marriage. It can cause madness or lunacy. Who indeed has been frustrated out of job. It can do that.
Do you think that we should perhaps be looking at a redefinition of lunacy or mental health stability or sanity or what have you? Because you have a lot of, in my observation, a lot of people walking the streets that look sane, but if you interrogate closely, you would see that they're actually not sane.
Of course, when you ask
I
a
don't
man,
think somebody that beats traffic has a mental health condition.
you ask a man, how old are you? And he said, my father was born in Asaba. Then you begin to know that something is wrong somewhere. And so we ought to see that, let us have psychologists all over, even in workplaces. I remember where I work, in the Korodu, a man would climb the mast and refuse to come down. You had to beg, not until the family was brought. Then out of sympathy, love for them, he came down. So, yes, the editorial is apt. Government should do something. It is a collective reasoning of daily trust.
Right.
It's commendable.
All right, thank you so much. This is very apt, especially if you look at the fact that we are in the campaign season. Hopefully, if that law is signed, it will help us put a check on some of the people that come out to even contest for elected
And no
positions.
wonder NDLEA is saying that let's test the psychological form of those contesting. Let's check to see if they are drug-free so that they can lead the nation very well.
It's not for nothing that the Federal Road Safety, if they catch you making phone call while driving, they say you should go for psychological checks. Because only somebody with mental health will want to endanger himself and every other person.
Or you drive against traffic.
All right, well, it's a good place to end the discussion on the newspaper review this morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak, as always. Our guest reviewer is Ben Shebang, the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria. With that, we'll take a short breather, and then when we return, the Daybreak will continue. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that a look at the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
because I have said that.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
All right, thank you for staying with us. For those who are just joining us, you're watching Daybreak on Trust Television right here, reaching you from the nation's capital in Abuja. Now, it's top of the hour. We'd like to take a look at the headlines again, just to keep you abreast with all the relevant information that you need. Now, in 2023, Nigerians must reject presidency by proxy, says Peter Obi.
Nigerians in diaspora to get up to 50 million loan for housing, NIDCOM.
UK politics, Rishi Sunak takes office, promised to lead with integrity, accountability.
Now let's take a look at the details. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, is set to launch a housing program that will enable Nigerians abroad to access a loan of up to 50 million to build their houses in Nigeria. The Secretary of the Commission, Dr. Yakubu Sulebasi, disclosed this to newsmen on the sidelines of the 4th summit of the Standing Committee on Diaspora Matter and the State Diaspora Focal Point Officers in Abuja on Tuesday. He said the program, which will be launched in November during the Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit, will address the issue of fraud in the process of acquiring properties by Nigerians in the diaspora.
Now, the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Organization has asked Nigerians to reject those who are planning to rule the country by proxy, saying that Nigerians can no longer tolerate turning governance into family and friends business. The LP campaign said that the only thing that joins Obi and Tinubu is that they were once governors of states in Nigeria. The campaign team, in a statement in Abuja, said, unlike Tinubu and his household, who have grown to be stupendously wealthy with no identifiable industry or means of making money outside the state government for over 2 decades, Obi is not like that. The Obi Dati Media Office said that Peter Obi is the man seeking the mandate of the Nigerian people to serve them as president, not any other member of his family.
Now on to the international scene. Britain's new leader, Rishi Sunak, pledged on Tuesday to restore trust in UK politics and fix the mistakes made under his predecessor, Liz Truss. In his first speech from Downing Street after he was appointed Prime Minister by King Charles III, Sunak promised to plead with integrity and accountability.
Right now, our country is facing a profound economic crisis. The aftermath of COVID still lingers. Putin's war in Ukraine has destabilized energy markets and supply chains the world over. I want to pay tribute to my predecessor, Liz Truss. She was not wrong to want to improve growth in this country. It is a noble aim. And I admired her restlessness to create change. But some mistakes were made. Not born of ill will or bad intentions. Quite the opposite, in fact. But mistakes nonetheless. And I have been elected as leader of my party and your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately. I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda. This will mean difficult decisions to come. But you saw me during COVID doing everything I could to protect people and businesses with schemes like furlough. There are always limits, more so now than ever. But I promise you this, I will bring that same compassion to the challenges we face today. The government I lead will not leave the next generation, your children and grandchildren, with a debt to settle that we were too weak to pay ourselves. I will unite our country, not with words, but with action.
Quite an inspiring speech there, with action, not with words. Now, the preservation of craft work is an important part of upholding a country's identity, origin and culture, as it serves as a mirror that reflects its cultural and historical richness, especially in Africa. It is against this backdrop that Nigeria and Morocco are harnessing handcrafts for the economic benefits of both nations and also strengthening bilateral relations between them. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu reports.
It's the first of its kind as Nigeria and the Kingdom of Morocco showcase their rich culture through an exhibition of handcrafted traditional dresses, bags, shoes, interior decorations, jewelry, artistic carpentry, and kitchen utensil, among others. This is a collaboration between the Sokoto Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture and the Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Services of Morocco to promote culture and trade for the mutual benefit of the economies of both nations.
We benefit the country in terms of internally generated revenue because we are promoting art and crafts. That is the basic of this, so that creativity, people who are doing things with hand, we will borrow from technology from Morocco so that we can enhance. Most of the clothes you see here, 95% are handmade.
In furtherance of the existing relationship between the two countries, the Kingdom of Morocco's ambassador to Nigeria and the Commissioner for Commerce and Industry, Sokoto State, who spoke on behalf of Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, noted that the collaboration is timely as the rich cultural heritage of both regions is necessary for boosting internally generated revenues.
Nigeria and Morocco are also linked by centuries-old history, which means that the two countries share the same culture. This exhibition will allow the Nigerian public to discover the multiple forces of Moroccan crafts and culture.
Sokoto State in particular has been trading with Morocco via third parties. I listened to what the ambassador said, especially in leather goods. A lot of leather from Sokoto red goat, which is the best, as the experts say, in the world, finds its way through Kano to Morocco and to Europe. This kind of gathering should see how we can foster relationship that we can deal directly without the third parties, and also build on the existing mutually beneficial relationships.
This new collaboration, which comes after an earlier successful solar energy and fertilizer production agreement, seeks a closer working relationship between the Sokoto Caliphate and the Kingdom of Morocco in the areas of religion, education, and culture. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
All right. Now, the National Population Commission is set to conduct a trial post-enumeration survey in Daura local government area of Katsina State. This is preparatory to the first fully digital population and housing census in April 2023. In Katsina, Abdullah Yamadi reports that the post-enumeration survey is to be carried out to check the accuracy of the trial census conducted in July 2022. Let's take the report.
The post-enumeration survey will allow the Population Commission to understand and determine the number of people missed, counted twice, included by mistake, or counted in the wrong place. The trial post-enumeration survey is an integral part of the successful census in line with the United Nations principles and recommendations for population and housing census.
The Commission is placing premium importance on this exercise. As you know, a population census is the official enumeration of all persons in a country at a specific time. This encompasses the collection, compilation, evaluation, analysis, publication, and dissemination of demographic, social, and economic statistics relating to the population.
The Commission has constituted an independent team saddled with the responsibility of preparing and conducting post-enumeration survey. This is expected shortly after the conduct of the 2023 Digital Population and Housing Census in Nigeria.
The objectives of this trial post-enumeration survey are: 1. To measure coverage error due to either under-coverage or over-coverage of persons, in some cases households, units in trial census. 2. To determine content errors through measuring levels of agreement in responses to questions on selected characteristics such as sex, age, marital status, relationship to reference person or household. 3. To identify procedural and conceptual limitations in the census which needs the improvement in future censuses and large-scale surveys.
The trial post-enumeration survey will be carried out in November in the 127 enumeration areas in each one local government in one state of the 6 geopolitical zones. The NPC Federal Commissioner, Engineer Bala Almubanye, gives assurances that the Commission will conduct a credible census, the result of which can be used as a planning tool for national development. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
All right, now Nigeria's government on Tuesday criticized the United States and the UK embassy for releasing separate security advisories regarding a possible terror attack in Abuja. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, at the ongoing Global Media and Information Literacy Week holding in Abuja, described the advisories as fake terror alerts. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman has more on this.
Speaking at the Ministerial Panel on National Media and Information Literacy Framework, Lai Mohammed, while citing sources and enablers of disinformation, described the action of the two embassies and the wide media coverage accorded to it as inimical to the peace, stability and economy of the nation.
Suddenly, this same alert finds its way into the media, both new and traditional, thus creating panic in the polity. Yesterday, schools were shut, businesses were closed, travel plans were altered, lives were disrupted. No one cared to find out about the authenticity of these alerts.
Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Ibrahim Pantami, blamed the rising wave of disinformation globally on the unregulated new media, recommending self-regulation and societal reorientation to checkmate the spread.
Because of our societal orientation, most of our people, more than 90% today of our population, probably, whatever they see, if there is no any counter narrative, they will consume and agree with it. Even if you delay for 24 hours to counter, they will just take it like revelation.
Minister of Education Adamu, represented by the State Minister Goodluck Opia, told the audience that the ministry is considering introducing media literacy in schools to equip the younger generation with the necessary tools to detect disinformation.
That includes identifying the media component that should be taught in schools, in mainstreaming school curriculum, and then engaging the quality of teachers that can handle information and handle our young people in learning what kind of information they should be able to take.
The forum, moderated by the Deputy Director General, Information and Communication of UNESCO, Taufik Jalasi, featured virtual presentation from the United Kingdom, including a question and answer session. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Thank you, Shafiu Suleiman, for that report. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we're going to have a major discussion of the day. Please stay.
All right, thanks for staying. It's Daybreak on Trust Television. Now, we'll take a look at our first discussion. Nigeria appears to be on another critical juncture, preparing to ascend another transition of power, a hurdle that requires more rigorous and preparedness. But like every other election season, the stakes are high. Tension abounds and uncertainty is also in abundance. It is this uncertainty that has now given rise to concerns and worries whether the 2023 presidential election will be conducted smoothly. Unlike the previous election, this appeared to be a three, or if you like, a four-horse race. Bola Tinubu of the APC, Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, and Peter Obi of the Labour Party, not forgetting Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso of the NNPP. What are the factors that may shape the outcome of the election? We have in the studio two gentlemen to make clear or to give us more perspectives on this. One, a member of the APC, Honorable Danjuma Mohammed. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have a chieftain of the PDP, Umar Sani, in the studio. Thank you for coming on Daybreak.
Thank you so much.
Yes. All right. Let me begin with you, Madam Umar. I mean, in February 2023, Nigerians will be going to the polls. And ahead of that, a lot of promises are in the air right now. But for many Nigerians, some of these promises are not new. They're old promises, you know, but with little, very, very little implementation sometimes. So why should Nigerians be considering your candidate and not the others as the person that can deliver on what they say they will do?
Well, promises are promises, and people have made promises. Now, we are not a political party that are noted for making false promises, because even when we handed over in 2015, Nigerians recall our governance with nostalgia. Nigerians know that the PDP is a talk and do political party. And so from 1999 to 2015, when we lost power, the PDP has done a lot. But that is beside the point. My candidate was part of that a lot that was done between 1999 to 2015. However, if you segregate his tenure with President Olusegun Obasanjo between 1999 to 2007, you will discover that the country had gone to a higher trajectory in terms of our growth in GDP, our growth in attracting foreign direct investment, our growth in form of debt cancellation and debt relief, our growth in technology. So we, during that period, and he was also the chairman of the National Economic Council. So he was part and parcel of that period. And within that period, Nigeria didn't witness any form of terrible insecurity and so forth and so on. So taking a cue from that perspective and bringing it to what he has promised this time around.
But in those times, he was what is now known as a spare tire, a vice president.
No, well,
so the issue is now that the onus is going to be on him. If he wins, can he be trusted? That's the big question.
The first thing I would say is there is nothing like a spare tire. There is only one mandate. The president and the vice president are one mandate, and they work together. And every achievement that is done by one is done by all. So there is nothing like a spare tire. He was part and parcel of the government. He participated actively, and he was part of the decision.
Okay.
Honorable Mohammed,
yes,
you're of the APC.
Yes.
Your party has been in power now for the past 7 years. By next year, it would have been in power for 8 years.
Exactly.
In these 7 years, would you say that the party has given a good account of itself, so much so that it should be considered in 2023?
Excellently, even beyond the expectation of ordinary Nigerians. Not minding the fact that there are some kind of,
propaganda against what government is doing. Number one, when we came to power in 2015, we met 7 non-performing rice mills in Nigeria. And today we have about 71 performing rice mills in Nigeria and still counting. And today, our rice production stands at 7 million metric tons. And, you know, this is an achievement that ordinarily was never recorded. In fact, 25 years before we came into power.
But if you talk about that, you have people buying, you know, rice now at more exorbitant prices
it is
than it was
understandable
ever.
and exactly.
So,
let me
has the
explain.
goal been achieved?
It has been achieved. I will explain. You see, the ECOWAS protocol of free movement of goods and services within ECOWAS member nation borders has created a problem for Nigeria. It has expanded our local market. Our local market before that protocol was ordinarily confined within the borders of this country. We had 200 million people, you know, in our local market. But unfortunately, you see, Chad, Cameroon, Benin Republic, Niger, and which other country is the fifth? Togo, have become integral part of Nigeria's local market. This is where the problem is. So if at all we need, say, like 6 million metric tons production of paddy to saturate our local market and meet local demand. Now we have up to 50 million to do that. So it is tasking. But what should be your inquest as members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm is if this had been on from 1999 till date, we will have been talking about, in fact, 30 million metric tons of
But
rice.
even with the achievements that you have mentioned...
This is just a few.
Yes, and that's why I'm taking you up on it. Even with the achievements that you mentioned in the rice sector, there's still, the price of rice is not affordable, as it were, and they still talk about hunger in the land.
Excellent. The British Prime Minister, in your own news, gave answers to that. APC was not in Wuhan in China when Corona came in. Coronavirus actually took more tolls, people don't know this, on international economies than on human lives. Since then, the strongest world economies have permanently, US particularly, British economy have permanently remained on the brink of economic recession. So it's not been easy at all. In fact, for this very factor of trying to localize production in Nigeria, which was the first time in over 30 years by our administration, Nigeria will have been worse than what it is today. Come to think of it, the rice that we imported consistently under 16 years of PDP's rule from Thailand, by the time you exchange what you have today in terms of the value of the Nigerian naira and the dollars to import from Thailand, you'll be buying that bag of rice not at 40 or 30-something thousand naira, but at 150,000 naira. Okay. So the issue of hunger will have been more severe than this. Economies have failed under this corona-propelled global inflation. Nigeria is it's an integral part of the global economy. So you do not expect Nigeria to be exempted. The only questions that should come from you is what are we doing? What is our government doing to cushion the effects?
The impact is more on some countries than in others.
Exactly.
So that's where I'm going now. Madam Umar, if you may. We have heard so much about how COVID-19, the Russia-Ukraine war, has impacted on our economy such that we are doing so badly and we are recording the high levels of inflation that we have right now. So what's your candidate going to do differently to ensure that our economy have some kind of shockers such that the impact will not be that much on our economy, even when this global, well, I won't call them accidents, but uncertainties, come up?
Well, let me first and foremost, I would prefer to set the record straight before I come to respond to your question. As at the time the PDP was in power, I happened to be part of the government, so I am very much conversant with the efforts made by Akinwumi Adesina, the president of the African Development Bank, in terms of agricultural revolution in Nigeria. to say that there was only one non-functional rice mill.
I said 7, not 1.
I
said less than 7 non-functional.
It's not correct, because I was part of a delegation that went to Kebbi State to commission 26 rice mills. Functional 26 rice mills in Kebbi State alone. We also went to Taraba. An American company had rice mills in Taraba, which we went to commission. So it is not correct. And again, coming to the issue of rice importation, the consumption at that time was about 1.2 trillion metric tons of rice in the country. And Nigeria was producing about 800 million metric tons. Given the balance is what was imported within the economy at that time. And that was why it struck a balance, and there was abundance of rice at affordable prices. You know, forget about, if we are talking about, you know, taking a toll, we have more ports in Benin Republic where people go there to discharge some of their goods. So there is the probability that rice will even be much more cheaper in Benin Republic than even in Nigeria. So taking a holistic look at the West African market will not give the proper perspective. Having said this, I will now come to your issue. My candidate has looked at all the issues he has on board, and he has called them USIT. One, he will unify the country, which is the U. Secondly, he will tackle the issue of insecurity, which is the S. The E is he will tackle educational backwardness and bring it to the fore. Number 4, the E, other E, is for the economy. He will deal decisively with the economy. And then the D, which is for development. And development means, you know, restructuring, you know, of the country, such that it will be functional and it will be much more productive in terms of all other administrative or issues that would likely arise due to people's agitation, is especially, you know, places where you have people who are engrossed in self-determination issues, like the Biafran.
Yeah, but we are talking about self-sufficiency. We are talking about how can Nigeria be self-sufficient in such a way that you do not have the high levels of impact that the global forces is having on the economy right now. Yeah. The issue of the Russia-Ukraine and the issue of COVID-19 pandemic. That's what we are looking at. What would your candidate be doing to ensure that Nigeria's economy, attain that at least to a good level of self-sufficiency?
You know, he is an international business person, and he has promised, to ensure that there will be, direct foreign investment into Nigeria, which will now surpass what we are witnessing due to the high level of insecurity, where investors are now fleeing outside the country. And so there is no much investment that can lead to what others are saying a productive economy rather than a consumptive economy. Now, the governor of Kaduna State has made some allusions just recently that most of the people who have come to make investments have run away from Kaduna State in view of the security challenge. So if we tackle the security challenge and we bring in more investments into the country, we are sure that the economy will get the needed boost that will now ease life, throw away hunger and make Nigerians, excited more once again.
All right, Honorable Mohammed.
Yes,
you talked about rice.
Yes.
And then the major problem in Nigeria today is insecurity, which has also forced some people, some farmers, to flee their farms, including the rice farmers. Now, Nigerians are bemoaning the insecurity situation at the moment. Your party is currently in power. What is it going to do differently if re-elected?
You see, before I come to that question, I still want to say that I stand by my earlier claim that we had less than 7 non-performing rice mills in Nigeria. The Akiumi Ambody you talked about, actually, yes, initiated the Olam project, which is that is a big-time foreign investment in the Nigerian rice production, activities. But the truth of the matter is that as at the time they left government, the 94% of rice we consume in Nigeria were from Thailand. It's on record. So, having said that, I want to go to now address this. You see, we inherited a nation at war with the insurgents, a nation in which 17 local governments were controlled by the insurgents. Flags were hoisted, insurgents that were propelled and by a twisted religious ideology. Unfortunately, a government that claimed, or rather a political party that claimed to love Nigeria, that's PDP, was in government, but allowed the insurgents so much room to build, its base in the northeastern part of Nigeria. But well, that is now history. We came in, ensured that the first thing was to fight headlong, to rescue and take back our territories.
Well, but why taking that back Maiduguri from the insurgents?
Yes.
We had banditry going on into other parts of the country. We had agitations for other agitations in other parts.
You see, you have this thing, that is the metamorphosis of a diminishing insurgency. They have been diminished. They have been so a kind of, dealt with in a way that you are no longer at risk of seeing, the bombardment of the United Nations building here in Abuja, the car bombs.
Can we really
in Kano,
make that
in
claim?
places.
Can we really make that claim in the wake of the attack on Kuje prison, where hundreds of prisoners were freed, including terrorists? Can we really make that claim? Where we have schools shutting down on the account of insecurity?
Excuse me. That is a professional failure on the part of those who are to a kind of secure the prisons. That was a jailbreak.
Who are under the leadership of your party?
Naturally, I accept. Even the president accepted when he went there. He accepted that there was a failure of intelligence. All I'm trying to say is that it wasn't the first time you had jailbreak in Nigeria, and that was the first time under our government we had this.
But we've seen the highest number of jailbreaks in the last 2 years under your administration.
Highest?
Yes.
Excuse me, where did you put
within the last 2 years? We've seen at least 15 jailbreaks.
I don't know of this you're talking about.
Not to talk
but when you're
caliber.
talking about, excuse me, when you're talking about the jailbreak at Kuje, I'm only saying that even the president owned up to the fact that there was failure of intelligence. And I'm saying that jailbreak isn't exclusively, a kind of done under this regime. It happened under previous regimes too, but it's all part of the work ongoing to ensure that you have internal security. But I'm only telling you, to respond to the questions about security, what I'm saying is that, look, in the entire world, there is not even the United States of America can come to lay claim to say it has achieved 100%, a kind of success over terrorism, international terrorism. What we had with Boko Haram eventually linked up because of the carelessness of those who were at the helms of affairs. Then we had this, it was an ordinary radical religious group in Maiduguri, but because of the extrajudicial killing of their leader, Mohammed Yusuf, before you knew it, it snowballed into an international terrorist insurgency against Nigeria. We made sure that they were decimated to the point that they can no longer launch such attack. But unfortunately, such armed struggle criminality has a way of metamorphosing into banditry and kidnapping. That is the commercial aspect of it. If you recall, go back to history, the first robbery in Nigeria committed by Dr. Oyenusi came immediately after the Nigerian Civil War. What happened? Because of the arms used in the Civil War, found its ways into the hands of criminals. So what you're saying in terms of banditry, kidnapping, even though I want to say that kidnapping, well, maybe on the lighter mood, kidnapping itself was introduced at executive level by the PDP when Ngige, sitting governor, was kidnapped in Anambra State. But having said that, I mean, that's just on a lighter mood. But what you see about banditry and kidnapping are nothing but the effects of the diminishing of terrorism in the Northeast.
All right.
It is not only, we have done so much on it.
But you know, only about 2 days ago, there was a security alert, or 3 days ago by the US, the government embassy, the UK government embassy, and even the Canadian embassy, of these people regrouping, in fact, even in the FCT. So will you really
They have not done as much as Nigeria has done against the terrorists. I can tell you this. The best American government has done against terrorism is to kill Osama bin Laden. We killed Abubakar Shekau. He's no longer living, but that is not it. The problem is not to have allowed, to have nipped it in the bud. That was the opportunity PDP missed. And that was why
APC has had 7 years, though.
Yeah, exactly. But we have done very well. We have done very well in tackling insurgency. Go to the Northeast. It is not the same Northeast we inherited from the PDP. But talking about banditry and kidnapping is inevitable because it has to metamorphose. That too has been tackled. He's been tackled headlong.
All right, let's go to Madam Umar. I mean, Nigeria, by its passing days, seems to be losing its monopoly over the use of force in the country, owing to the fact that you have more people with arms in their hands right now. And the issue of insecurity appears to be insurmountable. Sometimes we have to negotiate, with this terrorist and all of that. And, it's looking more and more hopeless and all of that. What would your candidate do differently to address this issue? Proliferation of arms is almost at the highest level right now. The borders are so porous and the rest of them.
Well, like my colleague has mentioned, perhaps, we tend to forget history so quickly, and we give it a new coloration because we want to save face or save our party from embarrassment. Now, we all know that the emergence of Boko Haram was principally because they wanted to create a caliphate in the Northeast, and that certain things propelled them into that. And they started with different strategies. One of their strategy was to create a chain of command, where you have the Abu Kaka, who is the spokesperson, you have the Shekau, who is the head, and so forth and so on. And as time went by, once they try a system and it does not work, they change into another system. And so the system came to be that terror must be spread across the country. And so they targeted certain places where they were supposed to send those warning signals as terror. Now, having looked at it from that, one of the campaign promises that the APC presidential candidate then, President Muhammadu Buhari now, said was that he was going to lead from the front, and that within 6 months, he will be able to wipe away this insurgency. Now, don't forget that at the time this insurgency started, it was a new phenomenon, and our security agencies were not trained to contain guerrilla warfare. They are used to the normal, conventional warfare, where it takes sides. Now, this was a new phenomenon, and so we were looking for solutions to it. And we were able to hold elections successfully in the whole state. So if there were any other state that people, or any domain which was held by terrorists, elections were held in almost every place of the country. So that alone means we handed over a, averagely, secured country. Now, coming to the APC, there was a multidimensional spread of the whole thing. One, headsmen came up.
Alhaji Umar.
Let me land, please.
No, the thing is this.
No, I have to land because it has to give a correlation to the whole argument. Number two, bandits came in. Number three, IPOB and ECN came in. So there was total spread of insecurity in the country. You know, we have been able to suppress militancy in the Niger Delta. And so as it is now, the fear is not even about the issues of insecurity. It's even how to even traverse from one place to another. For instance, I stay in Kaduna. I am not confident that I can go to Kaduna successfully and in good light. So does it mean that insecurity has been tamed? Definitely not. So, you know, the proliferation of light and small arms definitely started, we all know, from the Gaddafi era, after his overthrow, you know, and people had access to these small light arms and came, you know, and surrounded the West African territories to pursue their own personal ambition.
Alhaji Umar, all the things you mentioned, Nigerians are aware, and that is why Nigerians want something to change. So the question is, seeing that your party has noted all of this, what is it going to do to change it? And it's not enough to say, I'm going to tackle insecurity, because we've seen that every candidate is saying the same thing. How is it going to do that? What is it going to do differently?
Well, insecurity, the way to tackle insecurity, you know, you have to take a two-pronged approach. One, which we call the carrot and stick approach, now which is to look for soft landing, soft way of making these insurgents see reason and abandon their terrorist activities. And the other one is to have, you know, military engagement to be able to resolve this matter. Now, in having this military engagement, of course, what has been missing is obeying the rules of engagement. And we will tackle it in this approach to ensure that Nigerians will sleep with their two eyes closed. So we will give them some incentives. If you stop this, you can come on, just the way we resolved in
incentives
the
to who?
To the terrorists.
We have seen states where they gave this thing maybe amnesty, or as it were, and these people went back.
They said, if you listen to the terrorists, they said that it was a Greek gift. They were giving something with the left hand and collected with the right hand. Now, there has to be sincerity of purpose when you are doing this type of things. Now, don't forget what Yar'Adua achieved with the militancy. Without firing a bullet, he was able to tame the militants, gave them amnesty, you know, opened an amnesty office, brought a ministry for Niger Delta. You know, so many things were done to assuage them, which has made them to stop the militancy.
But yet we have a very high level of oil theft right now that we are dealing with. So, in other way, the issue is not being sorted.
The issue of the oil theft, which I'm sure even your station has done a documentary on it, you know, it's largely the youths in the Niger Delta are complaining that there is no employment for them. There is, so, you know, and from the statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that there is high level, about 33% of employable Nigerians are unemployed. And so those people are saying we cannot be employed. We have our degrees.
So the problem cuts across, you know, the length and breadth of the country, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'm skeptical about the way we treat, you know, terrorists and bandits and criminals and all that. We say we want to negotiate, we want to give them soft landing, we want to declare amnesty. At the risk of, you know, resorting to maybe what you may consider as maybe romancing the criminals, or maybe kind of encouraging people to take up arms or to be violent about their agitations and the rest of them. Does that really solve the problem?
No, it's that, you know, when you are looking, don't forget that these criminals are our citizens. It is the responsibility of government to reform recalcitrant citizens. And so if government is charged with that responsibility, Government cannot, refuse to look at these issues dispassionately and be able to address it squarely.
Okay.
So you either address it with a military fiat, or you use...
All right, that suffices. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, you need money to do all the things that you are promising as a political party. Now, we have a problem of, budget deficit that we're dealing with. A very high debt ratio. Our debt-to-income ratio is not commensurable, and all of that. How do you generate money? And then how do you block leakages to ensure that you are able to implement all that you are promising to do now?
Before I come to that question, I should tell you what my candidate intends to do about insecurity differently.
Taking into consideration the fact that it's your party.
Exactly. Right. First, it's a continuity of the intensity of military approach laid down by President Buhari. Now, Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu has equally promised that number one is to address the chronic issues of unemployment in Nigeria by way of taking millions of Nigerian youths out of the streets of varying academic qualifications into expanding.
Talking about those Nigerian youths.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a recent, a current syndrome, the Japa syndrome, yes, where a lot of youth who have they do not have a lot of confidence in the system anymore, are struggling to get out of the country because of this unemployment. So
it's this issue of Japa is another word for brain drain. This has been on for years.
Not as much as we have it now.
Exactly. Yes, because the economy is growing under the pressure of global inflation. Naturally, they too do not know that where they intend to go, even facing worse scenarios. I mean, a week or 2 weeks ago, there was a release of countries that worst hit by higher cost of living. About 10 countries. Nigeria isn't one of them, as worse as you think that our country is. We are still not one of them. But that aside, but I am saying that unemployment has created a lot of army for both insurgents, kidnappers, and bandits. So what first Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu intends to do is to take millions of Nigerian youths as a priority, use them to expand the capacity, personnel capacity of Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, Nigerian Air Force, paramilitary.
How do you do that with the funds?
Yes, the fund is this is simple.
Not have the money.
Yes, this is simple. You see, if you look at it, we embarked on massive infrastructural projects in the last 7 years. Now, all you need to do is to prune down your capital expenditure because we have a situation at hand. Don't forget that in the last 16 years, during the period of the PDP government of Obasanjo Atiku, national companies, but when I say national, companies owned by Nigeria as a government were sold. And unfortunately, even up till today, nobody knows the input, the contribution of these companies to the economy in terms of employment, in fact, in terms of even fiscal remittances. But that is aside, I'm only giving kind of background to what policies in the past, it kind of produced the magnitude of the current unemployment. So you are talking about the salary. This is simple. All you need to do is you prune down your capital expenditure. And also,
which is debatable. I mean, at the moment, we've not seen it demonstrated on the last 7.5 years. Excuse me. It leaves a lot of doubt.
It's a matter of priority. Was it not priority?
The Orosanye report, for instance, is gathering dust. Which is recommending the pruning that you are talking about.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly. So, no, I mean pruning of capital expenditure, not recurrent expenditure. Salaries, emoluments, these are recurrent expenditures. Capital expenditures, I'll give you an example. It is priority of this government that brought about the second Niger bridge.
So, but if you don't invest in capital expenditure, how do you generate money?
Exactly. You see, exactly. You generate. Excuse me. You generate money because what the task before us today is to generate money using investments, attracting investments into the economy, and by this you can see what this government has done.
All right.
Number one, you had the free trade zone in Lagos, which was a vision of Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu. And that free trade zone in Lagos today is emerging as the hub of African investment. The Dangote investment alone is the largest single investment in the whole of Africa. And I'm saying this because when this government came into power, the initial idea was that the president wanted to establish refineries by the side of.
I'm sorry, we have to interject.
That is the problem I have with
Sorry, it's time. It's time. We are running with time. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Let's just give you 1 minute for your final thoughts.
Well, my final thought is that having looked at all these candidates and having looked at the antecedents, of all of them, and taking a cursory look at the way the foreign exchange is skyrocketing, food items are skyrocketing. Nigerians know who has given them a good life. So I will call on Nigerians to go back to those people who have given them good life.
Would the PDP have performed differently if it was faced with the global challenges?
It would have been a worse situation.
So, well, that's just let's leave it there.
Sustaining APC still remains the ideal thing to do.
That's a food for thought now.
That is why
Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak. It's been quite an interesting discussion. I wish we have more time, but unfortunately, we have to go. That's our show for today, viewers. Join us again tomorrow for another time on the program. In case you have missed this time around, you can watch all that we've done on our social media platforms. You'll find the link somewhere. We're always streaming live on YouTube, so it's a good place to watch us 247. Thank you for watching. I am Ayuba Ilya.
Thank you for welcoming us into your homes this morning. Do well to join us same time, same station tomorrow. My name is Stella Iyaji. For now, do have a very pleasant day.